It might be worth gouging out my ears to never hear these two noises in combination in perpetuity again, and maybe just my eyes for good measure. Oh boy, that is horrible. We're back with another Enchantment Industries video. We're still in the same world that my last video was in, and we're back mostly trying to fix what used to be here, the enchantment kind of setup that we had that would enchant every single tool, armor, item, whatever you wanted to enchant in the game, and we gotta figure out how to do it in the new Create Enchantment Industries. I've already gotten started on some of the processes for it, and you can see here how well it is working when we have a few enchantments going here with the super enchanting. It's actually going very, very smoothly, and we'll get to this a little bit later. But I wanted to go over some of the changes that were made to our XP farm that maybe I'll talk about in a video. I don't really know. It wasn't that hefty. All we have to do in this XP farm, which is kind of the base one that I copied over from 0.5, is we just gotta put in a grindstone, an item, or what is this called? An item drain with a grindstone on it, connect them both up, have them spin, and then we'll get XP in that fluid tank. I've also set up a quick proof of concept for these Keiko enchantings because they were actually pretty easy to do. All you need is lapis, sugar, and some eggs. Press it down into a blaze cake style and then pump it full of experience, which is pretty easy to do, especially when you have creative crates like what I have. Obviously, if you're doing this in survival, you'll need to have like chests or something there, but it's still honestly pretty easy. I do think each of these blaze cakes does 1,000 millibuckets. Yeah. So it's actually not as expensive as it used to be. It wasn't a 10 to 1 or 100 to 1 conversion from normal XP to fancy XP. It is now a 1 to 1, and you just need those 3 items that I mentioned before. Something else that y'all are yelling about me in the comments for currently, since the video pretty much just came out, is if I have engineer's goggles, you can see way more stuff. And yeah, you're right, I kind of forgot engineer's goggles were a thing, including the kind of thing that we ended with where books are backwards. It tells you if it's an invalid forging item combination, and it'll tell you what it'll do if you're forging that thing, and it'll tell you normal enchanting templates can't be used in super enchanting mode. I don't know why this is a thing. This feels like an oversight. Why not just let me do both? What we're doing in this episode, we are in Create 6. The whole thing with Create 6 is that we can have distributed processing, a central storage system, and everything work together in one. That's probably what we're gonna be doing here as much as we physically can. I'm gonna keep the blaze cakes, that's not what they're called, Keiko enchanting, and the XP next to each other since it requires XP to use. But for things like this over here, this is something that we can port in our blocks of experience in from, let's say, a Frogport connected system, and these can be far away. So I want to make a bunch of little itty bitty modules like this one that will be used for the Create Enchantment Industry, so that you can automate the whole thing and it'll work flawlessly. Can we please pretend that I said flawlessly and not a jumble of consonances? But that's what we're doing in this episode. And the reason I started with this is because I actually didn't know how to make these super enchanting templates or blocks of super experience, because currently there's not a recipe for them. Yeah, not super helpful. Gonna be honest. Turns out, block of experience, strike it with lightning, turns it into super experience. Is this an infinite XP farm? Nuggets of super experience give you, real quick, okay, it's not a way to get it really smart by the developers of this game. These equal the same amount of XP, it's just a fancier block that does some different stuff in Enchantment Industries. Okay, glad we got that out of the way. I didn't even consider it. For the rest of the stuff, I mean, we already have our Keiko enchanting. The Blaze Enchanter and Blaze Forger, we don't need a crafting thing for that. If you wanted to, you could set it up. It shouldn't be too difficult, but we kind of just needed these super enchanting templates, and then we needed to figure out how to use printers, Blaze Enchanters, Blaze Forgers, etc. to get all the books we need to, forge everything that we need to down the line. And I'm honestly kind of confused on how to do that. But let me walk you through this machine that we have here, because at least from what I'm thinking right now, it is the best that I could have done with our current setup. You might be, first of all, wondering why we're using a gantry shaft and carriage instead of a minecart. And I tried a minecart first. It turns out if a block is struck by lightning and there's a minecart next to it or an entity near it, it will break that minecart immediately, which is something I didn't know. So yeah, that won't work, and we needed to use a gantry carriage so that it counts as a contraption and these things can move sideways and over. And then the next thing we needed to do was make sure the deployer would place all the blocks as it was coming back, because otherwise those drills would just mine the blocks that the deployers just placed, so they have to be a little bit in front, drills a little bit behind. And this is kind of where the smartness comes in. We got a bunch of smart observers in a little U shape because, as you can see, when it gets struck by lightning, it doesn't always convert every single one. So we need to get half-ish, a little bit more than half, just for safety purposes, and the whole back line, because in case it doesn't do the whole back line, and let's say we don't have a smart observer here, if when this is brought through, we have one block of super experience here and another one here, it'll go, but if that didn't happen, it wouldn't go all the way to the end like we see here. It would just go to the first ones and then go back, which is the opposite of what we want. So we do need one here, if I can let it go upward. And that's why we have this little weird system back here. And then these are just the feeders and output systems here. And it is literally creating so many of these. It honestly may be overkill, but I think that's fine. I'm not really worried about it. The only issue is if you run out of blocks of experience, you'll run into some issues, but you can always just turn this thing on and off with a lever and have it do what you want it to do. So if you don't have enough and then you get more, you could just flick a lever here on and off a few times and it'll redo it for you plenty. So that's this. That's how we make our super enchanting templates. This is done. We have Keiko enchanting done here. Now we need to figure out how to enchant every item in the game. At least I think. We will need a printer for book duplication. I don't know what is better. If we want to have every book duplicated every time, we can probably physically do that, but that means we're gonna need lines and lines of printers going into blaze forgers, etc., etc. And I mean, it'll look sick. It's gonna look like this kinda. It'll look epic, but it might not fit the space as well. So we could also try a very compact one. And maybe we do both in this episode and I just give you the schematics for both and you could choose what you want to do. It'll fully depend on how much work I want to put into it and honestly how feasible it is, because I really don't know. Let's start with the forger, because this is kind of our end goal, and then we can backtrack and work backwards from this point and fix things that we break along the way. I'm going to do an item vault for our main storage just so that we have plenty of frog ports on this thing. I suspect we won't need them, but it's better safe than sorry. We are also going to need a depot for our enchanting template and our book, both of which need to be at different things. And the book needs to always go in first. If it doesn't, as we saw before, it won't work. We also need a separate requesting system for those Keiko enchanting, which should be relatively easy. I honestly have never used this thing, but I think our redstone requester is going to be the thing that we want to use for this. Yeah, because these can order items from the logistics network. And I'm guessing, let's have this on here. Redstone requester. Oh, I see. I need to hook this up to a thing. Let me quickly get a create storage system, create 6 storage system and everything set up here, because then we might be able to actually connect everything up. Storage system is now in. It was pretty easy to set up. There's schematics on my channel somewhere. And we now have blaze cakes going in and out. We have 4 stacks in here for our blaze forger, which is exactly what we care about. And then I've also set up our repackager so that we can get both the template that we need as well as the book or tool or whatever thing we're going to be enchanting. That might be inverted. I'm guessing this one's going to be templates since it needs to be filtered, but you know what? We'll get there. It'll take us a little bit of time. We need some way. So maybe like when this is empty, this can be powered to get another package going or something like that, just so that we only get one set of items at a time. Because if we don't, it is possible, I think, that if a template goes across and there's already a template here that hasn't been brought into the blaze forger, it'll go onto here and break the whole thing, and that won't be helpful. But it may also be possible to sort all of the repackager things into first the item, no matter what, and then the template follows, so then we kind of maybe don't even need this. We'll see. But we have our blaze forger here. We need to get in some mechanical arms because these are going to be, well, first of all, that goes into what? That goes, excuse me. There we go. That goes into there. It doesn't really matter where I put this, I think. If it can reach here, that'll be good. I'm gonna do 1, 1, put you there. And then same thing there, but for the other depot here. Ooh, you know what we can do? We can have the repackager on at all times. And then if we just have a threshold switch here that is set to anything more than one item, it will power the funnel and prevent it from dropping out, which is pretty much exactly what I need. So now all we need to do is figure out a little factory gauge thing for our forge system. So in here, I've just thrown in a book and a super enchanting template. And what I want to see is if in the crafting or factory gauge thing, I'm assuming this is how this is going to work, but maybe it won't. If we put the book first, will the book be the first thing taken out for the unpackager? What we might want to do is turn this off and break this. If the book arrives here, then that means the book is first, which might make our job way easier. So book and then that, send it to the forge, and I'm hoping, oh right, that's pretty important. It does go first. We might have good news on our hands, and we may have an easier job. This is good news. If we do this a few different times, what is brought down? I bet this is consistent, which does mean that we'll be able to not worry about those. We just need one for our blaze cakes, one for here, and as long as our inputs are always book or whatever thing we're enchanting first, then this will work. So let's connect this up. We do see that this is going to work, and then the only potential issue is that now we need an output. Currently, our output is just a mechanical arm that puts it into a funnel, and I suppose we could do that and then send it back. There we go, we have our output set up, and that'll send it back to storage every 20 seconds. Now let me quickly set up some factory gauge things so that we can super test this system. And then what we can do is send one of you, and let's send thorns to the super forge. Gotta do it the other way around, gotta remember that. So let's send it over. That'll get picked up. That'll enchant those things in the correct order, correct orientation. It consumes more liquid experience than is physically able to go into the forge. Does it need normal experience as well? Oh my god, it does. Wait, oh, no, invert it. Forging consumes 2 million millibuckets? That's gotta be wrong. Okay, let's retry this. It consumes more millibuckets than it's allowed to have. What? How are you supposed to? I gotta Google how this works. This isn't possible. I see what's going on. Okay. I've been thinking about these enchanting templates wrong. The enchanting templates are never used with these things whatsoever. If I do Thorns 3 and Thorns 3, this won't go up to Thorns 4, I hope. I've been going about it all wrong. I keep thinking the enchanting template is used for the forger. Good, it's not. And that's not the intended purpose of it. It is literally just for enchanting and enchanting only. So I can get rid of enchanting templates for this area. Literally not useful for us whatsoever. The order still does matter. I'm gonna replace you there, and I think it's that one. And if we put that back, the order still does matter. We need book, and then that'll give us Thorns 4. I love it. I keep remembering how the mod works and then forgetting within days of each other. But now I think I get it. We don't need you. If, let's say, all we need to do is, once we have this set up, we honestly don't need all of these different fancy books. We can just make one god book. And once we make a god book, which will take more effort than having it automated, but once we make the one god book, then we could just print that god book and then we're good. At least that's what I'm picturing. So let's try to do it. We need all of the upgraded enchantments. So we're gonna do projectile protection, combine those bad boys. And it's only using 55 millibuckets of super experience, which isn't really that expensive. Kind of at all. If I could put these two together, it gives us both of those on one book, which is exactly what we want. So this is going to be the start of our god book. Let's duplicate these books and do those. That also means this farm over here is pretty much useless since this is just making blocks of super experience, which I don't care about like whatsoever. It's really not helpful for us. But now we can combine all of you guys together. So that's 560. What if we do it the other way? It's the same. Oh, there we go. No, it's 72. Yeah, so it's genuinely just an anvil. You want to do the big book first and then the smaller book second. And this puts protection and projectile protection on the same book. What this means is that you almost certainly want to go numbers wise because this won't be too expensive, I don't think ever. But in the same way an anvil gets too expensive, it makes it cheaper if you go highest number first, down to second highest number, third highest number, etc. So you want to do all the protection 5, blast protection 5s, and then thorns 4 and breaking 4, etc. into aqua affinity, respiration, mending, all the things like that. And we could just make one god book, but I don't know how helpful that is. Let's also confirm that this is going to duplicate on a book, because if it isn't, then we have more work to do. Oh, it looks like it just does. Okay. How much experience does this use? It uses almost 3,000. Okay, we may not be able to duplicate something much more powerful than this. We can still grab our... I think we're just missing mending and unbreaking, if I'm right on that, to get our chest plate done. So I'm putting mending on this thing now. This uses 16 millibuckets of super XP, which is actually pretty good. And it has all of those things that you see listed on the side right there, all in one. So if we upgrade this to this one, it now uses 3,000 millibuckets, which isn't all of them, which does mean I've already set up over here. We can do some boots like Soul Speed, Feather Falling, and Depth Strider. This should be the most expensive one, but if we duplicate that, let's throw all these away. Then we get our ultimate boots book. Soul Speed 4, Feather Falling 4, all the stops, and it costs just enough to be able to duplicate it on a printer. Then that is probably what we're gonna go with, which does make our job easier. So now let's say we want boots. This is gonna be our boots book. If I get some gold boots down here and I want these enchanted, all I have to do is boots up. We would need a thing for gold boots as well, but we can have this be boots and an enchanted book. Send this to a super forge. We want one of these. We currently don't have any goated book or super boot, but if we put one in there and one in there, we should get one of each. And now it's going to send out our super boot, hopefully in the right order, because that is the order I set out to do. Of course, I need to I need to have a boot item as a template, which, whoopsies, maybe I should have thought about that. Oh no, that uses way too much. Okay, this then means we need to do it one book at a time on our armor, which still isn't too bad. That just means we have to, unfortunately, duplicate more books at a time. So let me make some progress, because this whole video has been absolutely nothing, and I do apologize. Let me make a ton of progress and make it so that we can automate every book at whatever the max level is, and then we can come back here, figure out automating every armor, and then we'll maybe be good. We're done. I have spent so long on the stupidest things, and we'll go over them. Let's first go over the obvious things that I've added this whole side. This one is just printers printing books, and these are all of the books that we care about. So general armor is going to have everything on it that it can have. So protection, blast protection, fire protection, projectile protection, unbreaking, and mending. All of those on general armor. We have a separate one for thorns, because that one costs 1,000 millibuckets all the time. It's stupid and expensive. And then all of the special enchantments for a helmet, a back tank, which is just capacity, leggings, and boots, which is feather falling, soul speed, depth strider. We then go into our tools for fortune, silk, and then our sword, weaponry, and bow. I then spent a very long time getting this whole system set up, because in order to get our god tier armor, we needed to first get our one away from god tier armor, which has our general armor and thorns on it. And in order to get that armor, we needed our general armor section. And I needed all the books for those. So we now have pretty much every single book for all of those in a bunch of them. I'm auto printing all of these books so that there is a minimum number of them. And then we went through and made all of these things. The only problem that we ran into that is unfixable in the way that we had it originally, these do not imply order. Order is defined by how soon the item gets to the original storage location. So if a book gets here first, it doesn't matter what the forge thing looks like. If a book gets here first, it is getting repackaged as the first item in the list. So our initial plan of just having a line, and you can see that I've changed this quite a bit. I've needed to expand it, I think, by 1 block. Our initial one of just like having it go, get sawed, put on a thing, will never work consistently. So I've had to use tunnels, which is actually something that I had never thought of or considered, to do this for us, and it's actually a really, really clever way of doing it. So I'm gonna really quick pull up a mock concept for you so you could see what's going on, but we're using the normal split and the synchronized input method to make sure that they go in and out at the same time and they're always in the correct order, because we have these filters being set. If I can shift, yeah, up at the top you see it's tagged Enchantables, which is our armor and stuff, and then this one is going to be our books or not Enchantables. So let's say we wanted to enchant a helmet with Aqua Affinity on a book. We're going to throw in our helmet first. That is going to wait, which is great news. And then we're going to throw in our book afterwards, and you can see the helmet and then the book is dropped out. This has mostly got to do with our synchronized inputs here. If we didn't have this set up, and let's just break those, this would split them, but it would just be in whatever order they come in at. So, I mean, this one's pretty straightforward, but why do we have the splitting one? That's a great question. We have the splitting one because for some reason the synchronized inputs don't do anything if they're synchronizing inputs on the same input. So it needs to go to the other side for it to actually go through. And we only had one set of filters and it's at the very end. So this set here, and let's just throw in a book first and then the helmet. And you can see every single time the helmet will go first because this one is the helmet and it is in front. If, let's say, and this was kind of a very big deal when I found this out and this happened, we put in both of those again, that's good. If we put a helmet on there, great news. If, let's say, there's something in line here, with the synchronized inputs, it will wait to put both out until this spot clears. If it didn't, this book would go on this belt, and then this helmet wouldn't get in front, but thank goodness it does. So that is how we got it working and consistently sorted in an order that we need it to be. That took me, I think, 3 or 4 hours. This little system here to sort items, to order items in a specific orientation every single time. This thing is now pretty consistently working. I haven't had any issues with it other than our sword enchantment is too expensive. If it's above 3,000 to enchant, which it is, let's just increase this by 2 and we'll send 2 swords to get enchanted here and you'll see what's going on. So we have 36,000 or 3,600 millibuckets, which should be just over enough to forge this thing. So once this gets forged, it will get dropped off and then we'll have our mechanical arms fill this back up. But you can see we stop at 3,100 millibuckets, which means this is going to be stopped here forever. And it will never get enchanted unless we manually, with our hands, add another one. And this can be fixed just by removing the Bane of Arthropods enchantment. I'm at least very confident that'll be the case. I haven't tested it, so maybe we should do that. But running into that issue made me realize, oh man, doing all of the book enchantments and doubling manually was such a pain. So I wanted to make a way so that we can, with 2 sharpness 5 books, make a sharp 6 book, which is where this ugly contraption comes in. This thing is actually brilliant and took another 3 or 4 hours to make, but we did manage to get it figured out, and let me show you how it works. So let's say we want smite, sweeping edge, looting, all of those. Throw it into our storage system real quick for me. Thank you so much. And then once we have those, let's do sweeping edge, smite, and let's do both unbreakings. Why not? And we go to book duplicator. That shouldn't be the name of it, to be fair. It should be something else. What? Book upgrader. If we name it book upgrader and we send all 4 of these out, it will send a request to here. And then this is where it took a very long time. I didn't want to have to use a timer. Uh-oh. Oh boy, something's broken. Oh, you know what? I am using the same redstone links over here. So let me quickly fix that. Let's just put these back. So we have sweeping edge, smite, and unbreaking. I'm pretty confident we're doing unbreaking 4 right now in here. So we duplicate 1 book. This is gonna be a nightmare to try to explain. So what happens is our book will get dropped off onto this depot, and then a mechanical arm will put it into this deployer to set the filter for the printer. When there is an item in this printer, it will release one book from our book storage here that we could hook up to our main Connecty Create 6 everything. It'll release one book from there. With the book that's in there, it will duplicate whatever book is there, place it onto this depot. You can see that we're taking the comparator output from it, which then goes up, unlocks this andesite funnel to drop the item from the deployer down onto here, so we get our original book back, and then we have this mechanical arm that will bring any item here onto this Blaze Forger. So first it'll do the newly copied book, put it on the Blaze Forger, and then as the second book comes down, it'll then put that book on the Blaze Forger, and then both of those will get placed in our output chest. We have a timer to release one item every 15 seconds from this andesite belt funnel, because otherwise it'll like overrate itself and it'll be a whole mess. We do every 15 seconds because that seems to be the perfect timing to get it working as good as we can get it. So if, let's just get some projectile protection and normal protection, and we'll put one in, we should see this will get duplicated. It'll get combined there. And the second this Blaze Forger finishes, we should get another book out and another printing happening at pretty much the perfect amount of time. See how perfect that is. If we go any quicker, we may run into issues with things, and I mean, the consistency on this is probably the best that we can get it without like another 30 minutes of testing. And I'm gonna be honest, this is so clean. I needed to make it this small because I have problems, I think, mentally. And oh, we might be able to make it a little bit shorter. I'm not doing it. Once I had that, I was like, oh man, we're literally just duplicating books and then upgrading them. So we can do this whole printing process for any number of books that we decide we want to duplicate if we just remove that blaze forging aspect of it. So that's where this comes in. This is just going to, I don't have any books, let me get some books. So all this is going to do is, let's say we want a punch 2. We put it in here, it works pretty much identically. So we set the filter, duplicate that book, both books drop out here, and you can see in this item vault, we have both books that then get sent to storage. And if we check in here, we should have 2 punch 2 books. There we go. And you can see I've tested it quite a bit with all of these, and this is going to be our duplication thing. So this little machine is equivalent to this whole thing plus more, because if you wanted to add another book to this thing, you need to increase it by 1 wide. If you want to use a different book or duplicate a different book, you can literally, let's just duplicate all of these books. Let's see what happens. And this is quite a bit faster than the original, since we don't need to wait for the timer for the Blaze Forger. It is just duplicating all of these books separately. It will do it pretty consistently throughout the whole thing. So you can see every time we get in here, 2 of the enchanted books that stack. If they didn't stack, they would be separate enchanted book items on the top a little bit. So it is consistently 2 books, duplicating it every time, and once we get back here, we should see an even number of books in everything except for these 2, since these were the ones that we did in the Blaze Forger, but everything else should get an even number of all of the books. So what is the use for this one over this one? Honestly, this is so simple. And this one is horrible and complicated, and I don't want to help people fix it in my Discord because it's going to be a nightmare. This thing, so easy. Like, anyone that has ever thought of the create mod can probably figure out how this thing works. This one took me forever to make. It's a pain, but it is infinitely scalable. If you want to duplicate, as you just saw, we did a full barrel worth of books. If you wanted to do that here, of different books, you would need 27 separate printers and saws and filters and tunnels, so this one's more scalable. It's also smaller for most contraptions here, but again, it's more complicated. It is also slower, because obviously we can't parallel the production, but for something this small, it is crazy smart and still really good. I am kind of worried as well about if it's directional, because there's just so many wacky things going on that I'm worried about it. So we may test that later, but I really don't want to. Let's quickly go to kind of the main point of this video. We need to enchant all of our items, and here we kind of do have that already, but let me show you how it works. So you've already seen the sword. Let's just add 1 of these to each of these things and see the entire enchanting process go crazy. I actually need to increase this by a few more. Oh, and here comes the lightning. All right. So this thing is going, our repackager is actually too slow, so they are gonna start spinning around this thing, but that's kind of okay. You can see every single time we're doing this in the correct order, And I still haven't changed the book that we're using for our sword, but in the final result, I will actually put that in there. But as you can see, this is going consistently every single time. Oh my gosh, this has... It's the next day. I have been working on this for 16 or so hours, and I'm just so glad it's working. This is incredible. Oh my goodness. I will make a video explaining probably how all of this works. I'll make like a good factory and stuff for YouTube members, so check out my YouTube membership. The factory will be a world download and a schematic. The world download is going to be for YouTube members, but everyone will get the schematic, of course, and all of these schematics will be free on createmon.com eventually. Oh, what's really interesting is that you saw the shovel come out afterwards, but it's still in order, which is really cool. I'm a huge fan of this. This is so nice. I will also make a video explaining Create Enchantment Industries V2, because this is probably the most confusing mod I've ever dealt with in the Create mod, which is an insane sentence. I think most of it was that I thought the enchanting templates were useful. And it took so long for me to get my head around it that they aren't. Oh, wait, are we running into the issue? Wait, is it invalid item orientation? Lever. Sometimes I think this happens, and I'm really not sure why. This seems like that's intentional. It does kind of seem like sometimes the repackager gets it wrong, but with that should be back to the correct orientation. There's no reason for it to get it wrong in my mind. It may be something to do with our tunnels here, where they're like giving the wrong outputs and stuff. It'll have to be something I look into a little bit more, but I'm really not sure what could be the cause of it, because it seems like it's working now. It kind of actually feels like it's always this thing that does it incorrectly. So maybe I just need to replace these and fix those up. But yeah, this does seem to officially be working. And with our final pickaxe getting enchanted and forged up, that is going to do it for this episode. Oh boy. I hope you enjoyed the chaos that was the first part of this video. I really am glad I figured out how this thing works. It took so long, but I think I've finally gotten it. We have officially automated every single thing in the game. Enchantment-wise, we have full netherite items. Everything is good. So thank you all for watching the video. Like and subscribe, check out my merch, and join my YouTube membership if you want the world download. Eventually, there'll be another video on it, so don't worry about that. But that'll be it. Peace!